Happening now, local school districts are finalizing their fall reopening plans today. What that might look like next. Plus, a student at SUNY Fredonia joins us live to talk about her concerns about reopening that college this fall.
Well, lots more sun out there for this afternoon, but the weekend is going to be dicey. I've got the details next. The news at noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now on this Friday. I'm Justin Gould. School districts across the state are expected to submit their fall reopening plans to New York State today, with the governor announcing his final decision on in-person instruction next week. Officials say there are several criteria that will determine whether or not schools can reopen in person, focusing mostly on new COVID-19 case data. Here in Jamestown, Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Kevin Whitaker says in addition to sending his district's reopening plan to the governor, he will be releasing it to the community. The superintendent says there are 3 scenarios at play for the fall right now. Either everyone returns, everyone uses distance learning, or somewhere in between. Either way, the change in learning environment will be a challenge for some students. Teacher Patrick Smeraldo tells us that no matter what, educators have to look out for the best interest of the kids.
If you were to ask me right now, is school going to open? I can't tell you how I'm going to socially distance 500 kids at Washington Middle School. Period. End of story. I think getting back to a rhythm safely, how that happens, I don't know. But I'm optimistic. I'm really optimistic in, just hearing Dr. Whitaker. I just like his approach. I think he's a thinker. He's not a reactionist. We were very fortunate in March when we went out, because you mentioned it. There was an end date of June. Like, we didn't think we were going to be out that long, but all right, we got to, May. We're like, all right, well, school's over in June, and we'll just take a deep breath. If we go back unsafe and we have a problem in October or November, what's the next end date? The following June. There is no other date that we can gather our breath. Like, we might be out of school for 7 or 8 months if we don't do this the right way.
Meanwhile, the governor's office announced this morning several local schools will get funding aimed to improve safety and reimagine teaching in the 21st century. Falconer Central, Casadega Valley, Gowanda Central, Panama, and Ripley schools will receive a cut of $2 billion in that funding. A 23-year-old Buffalo man was arrested after police allegedly found drugs and a loaded handgun in his vehicle during a traffic stop this morning. Jamestown police tell us Daron Ferguson was pulled over in Brooklyn Square's Rite Aid parking lot around 4 a.m. Officers say inside his vehicle they allegedly found the loaded gun and a quantity of marijuana. Furthermore, police report Ferguson did not have a New York State pistol permit. Police say he was taken into custody and charged. Ferguson was taken to Jamestown City Jail pending arraignment. The federal program that provides unemployment to Americans will expire today. As John Lawrence reports, leaders on Capitol Hill aren't on the same page on a new plan to help those struggling financially during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Millions of Americans nationwide are worried about staying afloat financially.
Every month, even working multiple jobs, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul.
First-time unemployment claims in the U.S. are up for the second week in a row, and the Aspen Institute says many people are at risk of finding themselves without a place to live.
What we are facing is a possible mass eviction scenario.
The coronavirus pandemic, which has infected nearly 4.5 million Americans, according to Johns Hopkins University, has also crippled the economy.
The whole prospect of having a business in this climate seems impossible.
While some are living hand to mouth, Republicans and Democrats aren't seeing eye to eye on a jobless benefit plan. Both sides say funding is needed. They just can't agree on how to move forward.
If our Democratic colleagues had acted with the urgency that struggling people deserve, we could right now be finishing up a major bipartisan package.
We got here because our Republican colleagues couldn't get their act together. They still don't have their act together. And now they're worried. But instead of being serious in negotiating, they have created a stunt.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
John, thank you. The GOP's $1 trillion package was unveiled on Monday, and it contrasts greatly with the proposal House Democrats passed back in May. Chautauqua County's clerk says that driving schools across the state are now allowed to offer the 5-hour driving course again. Clerk Larry Barmore announced yesterday the programs are able to resume online via services like Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting, and Skype. He says there are 2 local driving schools who will likely be offering the courses online. A driving school is a formal class or program ran by a state-certified instructor that prepares a new driver to obtain a learner's permit. For more, visit dmv.ny.gov. Well, we hope everybody is having a great Friday, and we thank you so much for joining us here for WNY News Now. Let's check in with the comments and say hello to Lisa, David, Christina, Dave, Pam as well. Hopefully everybody is having a good Friday, and we thank you so much for joining us. Let's now get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. And Dakota, it's looking like it's going to be a pretty good day out there with lots of sunshine shaping up.
Indeed, Jay, we've got a nice afternoon on the way. This is a live look coming from the Mill Creek Mall in Erie. Just clouds dotting the sky, 81. Dew points down a little bit today from where they were yesterday. Of course, it was a little bit humid yesterday. First Defense Doppler radar, nice and dry, nothing returning. But there will be a small chance of an isolated shower. Basically, I would say the highest hills down into northwestern Pennsylvania will be the better chance for that. 75 was the high yesterday. That's 5 degrees below the average. But again, it was a little bit muggy yesterday. And of course, the low this morning was 58. 96 on this date, 1917. That's the record high. And 47 is the record low set in 1941. So as we go basically throughout the afternoon, partly to mostly sunny skies, there's going to be a lot of solar radiation out there for all of you to end the final day of July. Finally, we're out of July tomorrow. We're going to finally be into August. There's that spotty afternoon shower chance. Best chance for it's going to be on the highest elevation south and east of the area, 78 to 84, with an east-northeast wind averaging about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow is going to be mainly dry. Then we get into widespread rain for the second half of the weekend. We'll talk about it in a few. Justin?
All right, Dakota, thank you. Health officials are preparing for the upcoming flu season and aim to enhance contact tracing for COVID-19. Governor Andrew Cuomo says the state is sending $30 million to counties, with much of the funding going towards flu vaccines. The governor says he expects labs will get jammed up once they have to analyze tests for both the flu and coronavirus.
If they now have to do flu tests and COVID tests, that could affect the turnaround time on the COVID tests. So we want the counties to be ready with their flu vaccine and flu testing. So we're doing everything we can on that.
He says the money being sent to counties will also be used for contact tracing. Chautauqua County is slated to receive more than $300,000 of the millions allocated by the state. Buffalo Bills sent their rookie players home yesterday after 5 of them tested positive for COVID-19 this week. Rookie cornerback Dane Jackson and third-year defensive back Syrian Neal were the ones placed on the reserve COVID-19 list yesterday. The team says they can return to practice once they pass the league's testing protocols. The team issued the following statement, saying in part, "We decided to take a disciplined, proactive, and preventative approach to hopefully eliminate additional cases within our team." Undrafted rookie cornerback Ike Brown and defensive tackle Vincent Taylor and wide receiver Duke Williams are the 3 other players who previously tested positive for the virus this week. Coming up next, we hear concerns from students and community members about the reopening of one of the area's largest universities this fall. And later, what new tool aims to help those shopping at our local Walmart? Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
with coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you. When you're on the go, stay in the know by downloading the WNY News Now mobile app. Stay up to date on local news, weather, and sports that matter to you. Plus, subscribe to breaking news and weather alerts from the team that puts coverage first. In addition, watch news as it happens with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network. Download the WNY News Now app right now. It's free on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. This week, the head of New York State's public college system spoke to lawmakers about this fall's reopening process and the steps to keep students and staff safe. However, some in our community say nearby SUNY Fredonia isn't doing enough to combat COVID-19. Jody White, an alumni and former employee of the college, says that the college is not taking into account the possible impact reopening will have on the small village of Fredonia.
An increased population could potentially overwhelm the limited number of healthcare facilities in the Fredonia area if it were to cause another mini outbreak of some sort. By making this switch, the Fredonia grocery stores, shopping centers, restaurants, bars will not have a huge influx in the number of patrons each day.
Now, White is one of several new petitions published online, and she's calling for the college to forgo an in-person fall semester and host classes only online. However, for some students, online classes can be a challenge. Joining us live now is Elizabeth Hahn, a senior at SUNY Fredonia studying biology, who sent a letter last week to the college and governor's office calling for a safer reopening. Elizabeth, thank you for taking time to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
Of course, thanks so much for having me.
Well, first off, in the letter you sent to officials, what specifically are you asking them to do?
Sure. So we decided to write this letter, which now has 933 signatures from our Fredonia students, parents, and community, when we learned that the SUNY Fredonia reopening plan contained no plans to test students prior to or upon arrival to campus. So we know that the currently available evidence and guidelines shows that allowing untested individuals from across New York State and the country to condense on campus could potentially pose a great potential harm to the larger Fredonia community. So what our letter asks for is to test all students, faculty, and staff for COVID-19 prior to their arrival and to undergo pooled or individual testing for residential students, both at the beginning of the semester and periodically throughout the semester to prevent asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic individuals from spreading the infection. We believe this is extremely important because the CDC currently estimates that 40% of individuals affected with COVID-19 are asymptomatic, and the chance of transmission from people with no symptoms is 75%.
Now, I know some have called for the school to forgo in-person instruction altogether. For you, do you think that's a feasible option, or are you more focused on reopening safely and getting back to class?
I think that reopening safely is something that's very possible to be done with the proper measures. Right now, unfortunately, the current plans do seem rather inadequate. I think another option is always going completely online, but I do think that many schools are modeling very good techniques to reopen safely, and I hope that we can do the same.
Now, I know that's a big challenge for a lot of people because regardless of the virus, many say life has to get back to normal at some point. For you, what does that normal look like? If you were talking to the dean of the school or the president, what would you say?
I think normal is something that unfortunately we just won't be getting next semester, but it's important to realize that it won't last forever. My normal certainly includes seeing my friends, going to all of my classes and labs, not really having these worries of getting sick or infecting others. But this semester, we all have to work together to ensure that we keep everyone else safe.
Now, SUNY Fredonia has launched a new initiative called Fred Strong, which it calls on everyone on campus to be responsible by wearing a mask and participating in other healthy habits. How do you think that this initiative will be able to make an impact and what that impact will be on your fellow students?
So far, I think that the Fred Strong initiative is very good. I think it's clear. Now the test is to see if my fellow students and myself included will follow along with these guidelines. I think the public health measures of what Fred Strong is trying to achieve is very good, and I really think it's possible for us all to do it, but we have to accept what is happening and be mature about our decisions.
Yeah, and I imagine that's probably going to be one of the big things to get over. A few weeks ago here, we saw a spike in COVID cases where health officials attributed that to large groups of young people gathering on Chautauqua Lake. Are you concerned with your fellow students ignoring those rules and continuing to gather in groups without the proper protection?
Yes, it is a large concern of mine, but I'm also hopeful because the majority of the signers on the open letter that we crafted are students. So I do believe that if the students who feel strongly about protecting the public and ensuring safety make their voices heard and set a good example, that it is possible for all students to keep our society safer.
I've heard other schools around the nation are coming up with disciplinary tactics to further enforce things like mask wearing. Specifically, I know a school in Erie, Pennsylvania has really tightened down on saying if people aren't going to wear their masks, there will be consequences. For you, how important is the enforcement and what can the school really do to enforce things like mask wearing and social distancing?
I think that some enforcements will definitely be necessary, but overall, it will depend on the decisions that students make based on their personal morals and the responsibility that they feel towards our society. But I do think that some disciplinary measures could be effective.
Now, the semester is scheduled to start Monday, August 24th. It's shorter this year because of COVID-19. The last day of actual face-to-face instruction would be November 20th, and then remote classes could continue on into December for some. It seems like the school is kind of working on this hybrid plan of getting students back to learning again. Looking at that and what they've done, what do you think of the plan? Are you confident that you'll be safe going to class this fall?
With the current Fredonia guidelines for reopening, I do not feel as though I will be safe, and that is why we are so hopeful with all the signatures that we have on our letter. I'm hopeful that the components in our letter are put into practice in some form. And I believe with that additional step, I will feel much safer going to classes.
So finally, what's next for you? Is there a response that you're expecting from the school? Have they got back to you yet? And if they don't, do you have any plans to try to push a little harder to get them to implement better contact tracing and actually testing of students?
Right, so we should be hearing back from the administration any day now. myself and the other co-authors of the letter met with the University Senate and the United University Professions. We received a really great response from them, and we are currently awaiting the university's overall response to what they will do in regards to our letter.
Yeah, certainly then we'll stay tuned. Elizabeth Hanna, Senior at SUNY Fredonia, joining us today. Elizabeth, thank you very much for coming on and speaking to us. We appreciate it.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Now let's get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Dakota.
Okie dokie, as we take a live look at Links 1 here and the main graphics, thank you very much. We will take a look at the July temperatures so far this month, and this is something we've been telling you about throughout the month, about how we had, these stretch of above average days, this heat wave from the 5th all the way to the 10th. Well, right now we're ranking at 70.4 degrees as our monthly monthly average temperature, so we're no longer the warmest July on record, especially here in the city of Jamestown. Now, in terms of rainfall, no rain was officially gauged at the Jamestown airport yesterday, so our rainfall for the month still stands at 7.31 inches, so we still have a surplus of 2.62 inches, so we're likely going to end the month above average for rainfall. Live look downtown from the top of the DoubleTree Hotel. Lots of sun out there right now, 74 as a noon hour, northeast wind of 10, and the dew point down again today, so it's not going to be as sticky as it was yesterday. Now, on Sunday, a storm system is going to be passing close to the region, which will spark scattered to widespread showers and thunderstorms through the afternoon, especially through the day on Sunday. So the NOAA Storm Prediction Center has all of the region under a low-end marginal risk, a level 1 out of 5 for Sunday. The better chance for any stronger storms is going to be later Saturday night into Sunday will be our best chance for this. Again, the threat is relatively low, but the main impacts is going to be strong gusty winds and some heavy rainfall. This is the front that moved through. It's now sagged down to the south, but notice how it's got the reds and the blues. It's called a stationary front. The colder air and warmer air are battling together, so the front can't move. So as long as this front is still close to the area, we'll keep a small chance for a shower or a storm in the forecast. But you'll see here on Future Scan, this particular model shows nothing through the afternoon. I do think as you get up into the hills and especially further south into northwestern Pennsylvania, you'll have a chance for seeing at least a spotty shower, but the chance is only 20 to 25%. Otherwise, we're just going to have lots of sunshine. As we get into tomorrow night, as the storm system passes close to us to our northwest, we're actually going to see the influx of moisture coming in. So showers and thunderstorms will start later in the day on Saturday. So again, the day Saturday is going to be dry, but it's going to be later in the afternoon going into the evening hours. This particular model doesn't show a whole lot of widespread coverage, but I do think as we go into Sunday, the coverage is going to be upped. And I do think we'll see some more widespread showers and thunderstorms through the day on Sunday. Quick check of the tropics here. It is now a hurricane. I just said it. Now I can't pronounce it. Hurricane Isaias. There it is, Hurricane Isaias now. As this thing moved across Hispaniola, we were expecting this to weaken off. Well, it didn't. It rapidly intensified, and now it's a Category 1 hurricane with 75-mile-per-hour winds. The current NHC forecast track has this coming up close to the east coast of Florida. We don't think it's going to make landfall there, but notice how it curves out into the Atlantic here. Now, the big question for us is we're not going to see any rain impacts from this next week, but the question is, with it riding close to the East Coast, are we going to get some of the cloud cover later next week? That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on for later in the week next week as this moves along the coastline. But understand, if this thing falls apart, that may not happen. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it as we go throughout the week. How about the future? It's coming up, 81 tomorrow. And again, the majority of the day is dry, so don't let the little rain icon in there kind of fool you a little bit. It's going to be mainly dry. The best chance for rain is going to be in the afternoon. Sunday, 79. Sticky. The humidity comes up, 77 Monday, 75 Tuesday. Scattered showers and storms both days. Much cooler and refreshing on Wednesday, 73. And then on Thursday, the sun is back in full force at about 75. Justin?
All right, Dakota, thank you. Coming up next, some good news for local breweries as beer sales takes a pretty big jump. The details when we come back.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
Want weather now? Download the WNY News Now mobile app and stay up to date on severe weather alerts. Plus, anytime hazardous weather strikes, stick with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network that keeps you safe. You're all in a tornado warning, so now is the time to go to a safe place, small room, lowest floor, near the center, away from windows. What are you waiting for? Download the WNY News Now mobile app today. It's free in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
There's an old saying, there's no news in the newsroom. Well, it's true. The time I spend at the anchor desk is just part of my day. Most of our time is spent gathering stories in the community, stories that matter to you. We can't do it alone, and we need your help. When you see breaking news or have a news tip we should know about, drop us a line on Facebook today, email our news desk, or call our newsroom at 488-7226 so we can bring those stories straight back to you.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back. Walmart is rolling out new technology to help employees help shoppers. The retail giant has developed a voice-activated app just for workers called Ask Sam. Now, staffers can use it to help find products in their store, look up prices, and get real-time emergency alerts. The company is also using the app to keep workers up to date about coronavirus issues. Ask Sam won't be available to customers on the Walmart shopping app, but it does include a store map and price scanner. Coca-Cola is trying its hand at another market. The soda company plans to launch a new hard seltzer. This will be a first for the drink maker. Now, the drink will be under the flavored brand Topco Chio. The company purchased Topco Chio in 2017 for $22 million. Coke's hard seltzer will be introduced initially in select cities and in Latin America later this year. The company has not said if it will eventually bring the product here to the United States. Well, bottoms up, Americans' thirst for beer is blowing up once again. According to the world's largest brewery, Anheuser-Busch, its global sales volume picked up in June after months of decline. Restrictions related to the coronavirus crisis affected the brewery's business. Many bars, pubs, and restaurants here locally were forced to close because of the stay-at-home orders. In April, Busch even had to shut down some of its operations. The owner of Budweiser, Corona, and Stella Artois said yesterday that their sales have also rebounded compared with May. Certainly a lot of people probably hitting the lake today. Maybe we'll take a cold one. Just a reminder, always drink responsibly. Hopefully everybody is having a good one, and we thank you for joining us here for WNY News Now. Good to see Taylor, Chelsea, Ryan, Johnny, Joanna says she's headed out to the lake this afternoon. Going to be beautiful for it, that's for sure. Good to see April, Dawn, and Chelsea as well. Hopefully you're having a good day. That's going to do it for this week's show. Of course, remind you, if you missed anything we just talked about, don't worry. The show is available on demand in just 5 minutes time here on Facebook and our website. We leave you with a live look over downtown Jamestown. News continues all weekend long on the WNY News Now mobile app. Simply search WNY News Now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. We're back here Monday. Hope to see you then, live at noon.